Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Ali, Coram, and Ed Carson with a breakdown of the action in today's session, Tuesday, June 25th. And I'm going to channel my Ed Carson here. The great Nasdaq correction pullback of June 2024 is now over. Nvidia has swooped in and saved the day, Ed.
Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. It's definitely a nice bounce. Want to take a look at three stocks that flash buy signals in their own different ways: Meta Platforms, Novo Nordisk, and MercadoLibre.
Sounds like a plan. And of course, I jest with all of that, but we're going to break down the action in the major indexes and take a look at those stocks. So let's get to it. First, with a look at the NASDAQ, definitely leading the day by far with that outsized Nvidia influence. NASDAQ up almost 1.3% on the day. Meanwhile, we had the S&P 500 up 0.4% on the day, both eliminating or, snapping, I should say, a 3-day losing streak. And then the Dow was weaker today after it had been leading. We've been seeing this rotation. Now we've got this rotation back, at least for today. The Dow down 0.8%, and the Russell 2000, represented by the IWM ETF, down about 0.4%. So Ed, what do you make of these rotations? Because clearly this year, and especially the last couple of months, mega cap tech has been in favor. But then the last couple of days, we've seen money flowing out of tech, and understandably so, as a lot of those leading stocks have gotten extended and, they've rotated to other areas. But now we're seeing, that reverse card, that reverse Uno card was played today.
I remember that card well. Yeah. Yeah, it's a difficult situation. You just don't know, because that's when you have a market rotation and the market is split. You don't know, is it really going to hold? And so it's difficult to know when to enter, when to exit, because you don't want to be too impulsive and just swing at the first thing, but you don't want to wait day after day after day before taking action, either offensively or defensively. So I don't know. We have one day up after 3 days down within a longer term uptrend. I mean, you step back to the weekly and none of these charts are doing that much. I mean, it's sort of like, look at some tight closes on the NASDAQ. There's sort of tight closes on the S&P. Some of the other things are showing not much a big action. So, these look like steady uptrend, no big deal at all. So, it's probably time not to be too aggressive, because if you have positions from prior,
Right.
Probably a lot of them are going to be doing fine. So you didn't need to be rushing out, and at the same time not necessarily rushing in. It's like these are things that are just holding up. So again, we like uptrends because it's trending in that way, and you can feel like it might continue, and it's just a little bit more in flux. But the weekly charts, there's something, it's helps me put it in perspective that it looks like the underlying trend seems positive.
Exactly. Yeah. All those different time frames can be helpful, and we like looking at them all for different reasons. And we are in a power trend, which means, especially for the NASDAQ, that's what we look at for those different power trend metrics, right? We're in an uptrend, as you mentioned, and we've got that 21-day line also in an uptrend above a rising 50-day line, and that's been a support level. So coming back in past power trends, you may get those pullbacks along the way, but you don't quite exactly come down and touch the 21-day line. In other instances, you may not only touch it, but undercut it for a couple of days. But like you said, in general, taking that step back, this uptrend still intact, and a little bit of rotation, while it may not feel great, if it's impacting the stocks that you own, healthy if we're going to see this uptrend continue, because, what's the alternative? More climactic action that could lead to an even more severe pullback. So what are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. Yeah. And so somewhat of this action is somewhat healthy, letting some other areas sort of strengthen up. But, it'd be nice if everything was sort of moving together, and that's not quite what we have, but there's some nice underlying trends. Yeah, definitely. We are in a power trend.
And when it comes to that rotation, Ed, I know you mentioned it's kind of tricky, right? Was this just a couple of days and now it's back to the status quo of what we've seen all year? Or is this the beginning of a more significant rotation that's going to play out over a number of months. I guess only time will tell, right? But what signals do you look for that?
I think you just seem like, I mean, one reason I'm going to look at the weekly charts and look on the daily, I'm going to look at 21-day lines and some other things. It's like, are some of these leaders really breaking? And they haven't really. I mean, the most part, I mean, there's individuals, but like some of the names in the very short run, not necessarily a technical signal, but I'm going to be looking at Micron earnings because I think that'll be interesting to see how that does for AI and for chips, a whole slew of different areas. So I think that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just something, and you just have to keep on just addressing it. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It's not like, oh no, I'm a little bit more nervous, I'm going to go from 90% invested to 5%. It's like you can take little incremental steps down and up as the market sort of provides these signals.
Yeah, totally with you on that. And, especially lately, and you have this in the notes here. I mean, you can't really look at the Nasdaq up on a almost 1.3% gain without looking at Nvidia. And okay, well, what did this contribute to that? Nvidia up 6.8% today after a 3-day pullback. That was, that wasn't just a gentle little pullback. We had a downside reversal in heavy volume and 3 days of pretty notable declines here in the lead up to today's bounce.
Yeah, I think it fell something like 16% from that high, and so it bounced back today. It's finding support where you'd like it to. It doesn't mean you need it. It'd probably be better if it could pause or go sideways. We'll see what the market does. Pause for a while, let that 50-day line catch up, because it was getting to extreme levels. It didn't quite reach the highest levels that we saw a few months ago, but it was getting awfully close at the, so letting that pause set up. But yeah, it's nice to see this sort of like, hold up here. But yeah, just a huge factor. It's obviously just this and other AI stocks, just a huge impact on the market.
Okay, we'll continue to keep tabs on the action there. And I still do own a position in this. Ed, let's talk about breadth, because I know that's something that you are keeping an eye on as well. RSP today down 0.7%, while SPY, as we mentioned earlier, up almost 0.4% on the day. So again, this rotation, what's been working worked again today, that mega cap tech area.
Yeah, so it looked like maybe we were getting some signals that maybe we were broadening out and shifting away from AI. And it's like, not so fast. We're right back at the 50-day line here.
Yeah. Okay. And QQEW, the equal weighted Nasdaq 100, holding up a bit better, up almost 0.4% on the day, while QQQ, the Nasdaq 100 ETF, up 1.1%. Okay, speaking of mega cap tech, let's take a look at Meta with a nice performance today, up 2.3%. It's been tightening up around this 500 level, Ed.
Yeah, tightening up, form this handle right around the 21-day line. I mean, that horrible earnings break a few weeks ago doesn't look so great, but otherwise the right side feels fairly like textbook. Comes above the 50-day line, gets up there, sort of pulls back. I mean, there was it tried to move yesterday, it sort of backed off, but continued on today. So broke the downtrend of the handle. That offered an early entry. You could, add to it or start a position if you wanted to wait, to like at that handle buy point. But just nice action here. The relative strength line came off, but anything that was consolidating has done that. That was after a long uptrend. This is a lot to like with it. You can see the revenue growth. It's been accelerating for several quarters. The earnings growth has been strong. So you look at the technicals and fundamentals, a lot to like about this.
Yeah, you give it you're gonna smash that like button. I don't know. Is that more of a YouTube thing than a Facebook thing? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. But
well,
I definitely liked it.
It's
definitely like it. The one thing is that the AD rating is a D-, and so I'm not, sure. There's that may reflect that huge spike that we have from the earnings, because it, and there haven't been. That would be the one thing, is that there hasn't been really a positive volume day, really in the last couple of months. So it's nice to see some volume just somewhere along the way. So that is one thing to note, are the institutions stepping in.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That gap down, not a great look, but I mean, the bullish bent to this is that it did bounce back so quickly, because a lot of times we take those earnings gap downs as a pretty serious sell signal. And I think in real time, that was the right call, because more often than not, I would say an earning gap down like that can lead to further weakness. But the fact that it didn't keep going lower and it did recover, like you said, kind of classic action on that right side of the base, maybe washes away some of the ugliness of that left side and that gap down. So we'll continue to watch it, because we do know that mega cap tech has been in focus. So we'll keep watching. Let's go to NVO, Ed. A nice day today, up 3.3%. We got the volume here.
Definitely got the volume here. There was positive news. China approved its weight loss drug Wegovy. It already approved the diabetes drug Ozempic, which is the same drug essentially, but that was a positive. Yeah, it's out of the official buy zone of this cup with handle, but this was basically a high handle shelf on a weekly chart. It's a 3 weeks tight. So, and when you have a 3 weeks tight this close to the base, I mean, it's sort of like, often we say a 3 weeks tight is an add-on entry, but this is probably a place where you could have started a position if you'd wanted to. Definitely could have been an add-on position. You can look at that RS line trending up over time. It's been really since late 2021. It's been trending up. That is a really strong track record. So again, this is one of the big winners out there. And looking, it's like the duopoly almost with Eli Lilly, just two tremendous stocks that are really transformative.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm showing the monthly chart here, and you can just see how over that time frame that you mentioned, that acceleration of outperformance versus the broad market, pretty evident. And, if we look at the longer term growth rate of 17%, definitely nothing to sneeze at there by any means. And that stability, I don't know where it was, but now it's at a 9. And for this rating, the lower the better. You can see that earnings line picking up. So like you said, a lot to like. Let's go to MercadoLibre, the ticker here, MELI, Ed. A little bit of a different trading personality here, different looking chart. But what's your take on the action?
Definitely, this is a higher risk type of situation. It's had a strong run at times, but not in the last several months. It does feel like, just going back to the weekly for just a moment, it does feel like the 40-week, 200-day is often a place that you could try starting a position, because you've seen how it's,
good point.
And just not that that's by any means a guarantee. And yeah, you couldn't really buy it off the 40-week because you needed to get above the 50-day line. So if you go back to the daily now, you can see now it's gone over the 50-day line. It's over the 21-day line. If you draw a downtrend in that handle, that's a handle on a weekly chart, by the way. So that is the real handle, 1792, and clearly that's the handle buy point. This might be a place to start it, because if you waited till 1800,
that's where it keeps getting rejected. Yeah.
Now I completely get if you say, like, I don't want to do this. I say this is too volatile. I don't like the recent trend. It does have really strong growth. There are some real positives about it. But I just wanted to bring this up, is that this is a place where you could be doing something like this, because you probably wouldn't want to be doing it near the traditional buy point, at least as a starting of a position. But so we'll have to see. This also, it's not AI, but it's tech. So I'm trying to think things that, that some areas in that, but we'll have to see. There's definitely some positives and negatives about this one. And so I don't want to go, it's not as clear cut as a Meta, as a Novo, which you look at the track record, you look at the institutional things, and you look at the chart, it's a little bit clearer where you can be buying it.
Yeah. But in terms of the risk management, that's clear. And I think that with any trade, whether it's a riskier trade or a slower, sleepier type of stock, that is important. And so I think the fact that we did see it tighten up over the last couple of weeks, potential subtle change in character there, and supported the 40-week line, which it's gotten around there in the past. So great points there, Ed. Really appreciate your thoughts today. And thanks everyone for tuning in. That is it from us for now, but be sure to tune in tomorrow morning on IBD Live, where we've got the latest And we will see you there, investors.com/IUBD Live for all the details. And then, of course, we'll be back tomorrow after the close. So we'll see you then.